Are there any other amendments? Gentleman from Georgia.
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will read the amendment.
To the desk. Mr. Chairman, I rise in support of my amendment.
Clerk will read the amendment first.
An amendment offered by Mr. Brinkley of Georgia. Amend Title II of Section 205C, Item 25, Trail of Tears, including the associated forts, and specifically Fort Mitchell, Alabama, and historic properties extending from the vicinity of Murphy, North Carolina, through Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Missouri, and Arkansas, to the vicinity of Tahlequah, Oklahoma.
The gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, actually I offer this amendment in behalf of my colleague from the 3rd District of Alabama, Mr. Bill Nichols, who represents the area in question, and of course myself as a close neighbor and as a party of interest because of the fact that the area in question is contiguous to the state of Georgia, the 3rd District of Georgia, which I have the privilege of representing. Congressman Nichols has been detained momentarily because of the fact that he is chairman of the Personnel and Compensation Subcommittee, which is presently dealing within the Armed Services Committee on the new revised GI Bill, which is of enormous consequence to the future of this country, and so I'm carrying on for him and, of course, in my own behalf. Mr. Chairman, I am grateful to the fine work of Mr. John Seiberling and his fine subcommittee, also our counterparts on the minority side, and do rise in support of H.R. 861, a bill which includes a provision to authorize a feasibility study for including the Trail of Tears under the National Trails System Act. The Trail of Tears, which began in October 1838, was a sad but historically important chapter in America's frontier history. Fort Mitchell, Alabama, played a significant role in this historic trail, for some of the tribes forced on the march were assembled at Fort Mitchell for the long trek westward. To ensure Fort Mitchell's permanent rightful place in the Trail of Tears, as I've said, my good friend from the state of Alabama, Bill Nichols, and I today offer an amendment to include Fort Mitchell in the Trail of Tears study. The amendment reads as follows. With the new words Fort Mitchell included, it would say, Trail of Tears, including the associated forts, and specifically Fort Mitchell, Alabama, and historic properties extending from the vicinity of Murphy, North Carolina, through Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Missouri, and Arkansas, to the vicinity of Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Fort Mitchell is rich in Indian heritage. Of special importance was the Oswego Council meeting held there, which resulted in a treaty of peace being signed in New York in August of 1790 by President George Washington and Alexander McGillivray, head of the Creek Indian Confederacy. The Lower Creeks and Yuchi Indians settled in the area, which served as the capital of the Creek Indian Nation. In 1805, a treaty with the Creek Indians permitted the federal government to open a horse path through their nation. The path was improved to become the now famous, and actually then famous, federal road from Washington to New Orleans, a much-traveled route. In the winter of 1813 and 14 came General John Floyd and members of the Georgia militia who built Fort Mitchell as protection against hostilities of the Creeks. The fort was named for General David B. Mitchell, governor of Georgia. Grave sites from the Creek Indian War and the Seminole War of 1818 are located there, as well as the remains of Indian countrymen, a Creek chief, and veterans of the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. Colonel John Crowell, Indian agent whose agency headquarters were located at Fort Mitchell, is buried there also. From 1817 until 1820, the trading post for the Southeast was at Fort Mitchell. In 1821, Bishop William C. Capers of the Methodist Conference of South Carolina established the Asbury Mission School for the Creeks, the first known educational project in the Chattahoochee Valley. Fort Mitchell remained a military post until 1840. Mr. Speaker, Fort Mitchell is a vital component of the Trail of Tears story, and I urge my colleagues to support this amendment, which seeks to guarantee its proper place in American history. As an aside, Mr. Chairman, I would note that the Veterans Administration, contiguous to this site, is establishing the Region 4 Cemetery for veterans within the southeastern region of the United States. This would in an important way complement this addition to this very important bill, and I urge the chairman to consider it, and I urge my colleagues to accept it.
Well, would the gentleman yield?
I'll be glad.
I want to commend the gentleman for his support of this amendment and for the statement he's just made. And I'd also like to again extend recognition to the gentleman for his contribution to preserving our heritage, and particularly for the bill. I ask unanimous consent the gentleman have one more minute.
Without objection, the gentleman from Georgia has one additional minute.
Would the gentleman yield?
I yield.
I'd like to also commend him for the work that he did in getting the Warm Springs preservation bill that we recently passed in the House put together to preserve the Franklin D. Roosevelt home at Warm Springs as part of our national historic heritage. I think it takes on particular significance since the gentleman since then has informed his colleagues that he does not intend to run again for the House of Representatives, and I know we are all going to be missing him a great deal, and I think this is a good opportunity to pay tribute to his achievements and his contributions to our country in his service in this body. I want to thank him again for his statement and his support for these causes.
Will the gentleman yield?
Thank you very much.
Will the gentleman yield?
I shall never forget the work of the gentleman in helping me in the state of Georgia and really the nation in preserving an item of such importance as Warm Springs, Georgia, and this present initiative of the Trail of Tears located at Fort Mitchell.
But the gentleman from Georgia
I
has
ask unanimous
expired.
consent for 2 additional minutes.
Without objection, the gentleman from Georgia may
I
proceed
too
for
would
2
like to
additional
compliment
minutes.
the gentleman on his amendment and rise in support of the amendment. And I also would like to compliment him on his tenure in the House and the work he's done on this effort and bringing this to the committee's attention. I again wish you good luck in your endeavors out in the great state of Georgia.
And I thank the gentleman from Alaska, my long-standing friend, for those kind sentiments. And I yield back the balance of my time.
The question is on the amendment. All those in favor will signify by saying. The gentleman from Ohio seek recognition on the amendment?
No, Mr. Chairman.
The question is on the amendment. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. Are there any other amendments? If not, the question is on the committee amendment in the nature of a substitute as amended. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. The committee amendment in the nature of a substitute as amended is agreed to, and the committee now rises.
Chairman of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Chairman.
Speaker, the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union has had under consideration Bill H.R. 861 and pursuant to the House Resolution number 358. I report the bill back to the House with an amendment adopted in the Committee as a whole.
Chairman of the Committee of the Whole House of the State of the Union reports the committee has had under consideration the bill H.R. 861. Pursuant to Resolution 358, reports the bill back to the House with an amendment adopted in the Committee of the Whole. Under the rule, the previous question is ordered. A separate vote demand on any amendment. Committee of the amendment adopted in the Committee of the Whole. If not, question is on the adoption of the amendment. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Question comes to third reading of the bill. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Third reading of the bill.
A bill to amend the National Trail System Act by designating additional national scenic and historic trails and for other purposes.
Question comes on the passage of the bill. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is
Mr.
passed.
Speaker, I make a point of order that a quorum is not
Evidently,
present.
a quorum is not present. The vote is automatic. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. Voting will be by device. Having voted in the affirmative, 6 in the negative, the bill is passed. The motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. What purpose the gentleman rise?
I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks on the bill just passed.
Without objection. What purpose does the gentleman from New Jersey rise?
Speaker,